Okay, so I decided to build a Tardis, and why did I want to do this? Well, why not? My local community centre, there was they were giving away some reclaimed wood. They had a cupboard taken out of one of the rooms. It was quite a large cupboard, and they were just trying to get rid of the wood. So I said that I'd take it off their hands. This was all supposed to be around 18 millimeters, which was ideal for what I needed to do, and I was able to fit them into my car just about, and bring them home in order to produce this Tardis. So I started off using the table saw to cut the struts of the front doors. I needed 40 of these, and I had plenty of this 18mm wood of these individual shelves, and then used the circular saw there to separate them into the 12-inch lengths. Because it's reclaimed wood as well, that I had to hammer out a lot of nails as well, and luckily they were pretty easy to remove. There wasn't any that kind of snapped or stuck in it, so it was pretty easy to do. I started piling up the wood and sort of giving me an idea of how big this Tardis was going to be. And when I saw it on the table, it kind of sort of threw me a little bit. Here we started to see the uprights that I tried to work on, and unfortunately I found out that this wood here was actually only 12mm, so I had to find a way of being able to affix these uprights to the struts, because I was going to use pocket screws with 18mm wood. Since this was only 12mm, that was not going to work. So here I had to move the garage slightly around a little bit in order for me to actually cut these, because these were like 85 inches long. So I had to move the table saw a little bit in order to actually get it to cut. So I laid them all out and started working on a way of how I could piece this together. I had this plywood that I was going to start using for the panels, but then I had this idea when I looked at it that the plywood was actually 5mm across. I was able to turn them into small squares that I could put against the lengths, because the lengths were 12mm. The struts rather, was 18mm, and this being 5mm balanced all that out for me. I cut these little squares out, and using wood glue and some screws, I was able to actually brace these together using the shelf brackets from what I'd already taken off. So this actually gave me a way of actually structuring the doors together. So all I needed to do then was to screw them together and see if they were actually going to hold together. So I started putting the panels together and started putting doors to doors. This is me trying to realise how big this is going to be. It's one of my biggest projects I've done so far. So I started adding these panels to the doors. Now I followed the instructions a little bit too directly, and I only made the panels 13 inches wide and the gaps are only 12 inches. So I actually had no way of being able to screw these panels to the uprights. So I took them out with a way of dealing with this, and at the time I had some scrap 18mm, and I thought, well, that'll do, I'll just screw these panels on, it'll hold on. But then once I started adding more to it, I realised that the doors were getting really heavy. As you can see in this photograph, where I used the plywood and I cut across the whole back end and made it about 2 inches across from the hole, so it actually would hold in a little easier. I'm still using blocks of wood at this point, and from the following day, realising how much of a mess the back was, I had to come up with a new way of how this was going to work. So the second door started getting built, and then I started reassessing how I was going to do these panels. This is how they were originally, and then I started trying a new way out, which was using some old pallet wood and bolting that to the doors, and that seemed to work okay, but I wasn't too happy with it. And then what I did is I went back to the shop and bought some smaller 1-inch screws, because I've been using 1.5-inch screws at this point, and I realised that if I just cut like some scraps of the plywood, I could use these as braces. So I started doing that instead, and that made a massive difference. So at this point I started doing the corner posts, and I was able to put 2 together. I hadn't done the base at this point. I just thought it'd be a good idea to try and see if they'll actually fit in together, and that seemed to work, which was pretty cool. So I worked on the roof and made that, and started seeing it all coming together. At this point there was only 2 uprights done, so it's kind of a bit sort of like a bit wongy at this point, but it gave me an idea of how it was all coming together. This was me just thinking, hey, this is where the police box sign's going to be, giving myself an idea. So I went back to my laptop and I did a bit of research on how the police public call box sign would be, the dimensions and things like that. So I designed this in Photoshop, exported it as a PDF, and then was able to print it across 4 pages. I then then popped to a stationery store and picked up some sticky back plastic, which I thought was a way to actually make it waterproof if it's outside in the rain and what have you. So I carefully went over that and was able to put this over, and that worked. Then during that time, my free for use public sign, pull to open sign, came through the post. This is an aluminium 10x8 sign, so I tested it out on the panel and it seemed to work pretty well. I started at this point creating the police box sign. I've got 4 to create, so I started creating at least 1. Luckily, on the big panels, when I removed the shelf brackets, one of the sides had this beading, which was 18mm, and I was able to actually remove that without damaging it, so I was able to reuse that in the police box sign, which was very useful. Then it got to the 3rd day of producing this, and I was thinking, where am I going to get some more plywood from? And I was trying to price it up at the local hardware store, and my brother just recently moved, and we went to his new place and opened up his garage, and lo and behold, there was 2 4x8 plywood pieces which were practically undamaged, and I thought that's amazing. So I was able to reclaim that. So the St. John Ambulance sticker came through. This is kind of a plastic feel to it, so and it was embossed as well, so it's not just like a print on a circular sticker. It had adhesive on the back. I popped to the hardware store to another craft store because I was thinking, how the hell am I going to do the windows? And what I did in the end is I got 4 A1 5mm foam boards to do the windows. Then I got some black craft card in order to do the T in the windows. I was going to go and get some proper Tardis paint, but then looking in the local hardware store, I found a value paint which was practically the same colour for like £12 for 5 litres, and I thought, well, I'm buying that. I also bought the CLS wood for the base. Also, I was able to buy this beading, which is like a 24mm strip by 12mm, which will go in the centre, which is a part of the door frame, which I'd forgotten about, and I went and bought 4 of those as well, so that's unfortunately not reclaimed. I brought some primer and started priming the wood, ready for painting. I hadn't finished everything off, but I was running out of time to get this built, so I started building the base. The slippers are there because I didn't have any knee pads and my knees were still starting to give way at this point. So I built the base to spec, and then I started putting the struts together and seeing it all slowly come together, which was pretty awesome. This was a long day. I think I spent about 13 hours at this point doing this, and it got quite late piecing together, hence the reason it got quite dark. So I started painting and sort of thought, if I'm going to go to bed at 11 o'clock at night, I'm going to try and do at least the first coat at night. And so I managed to get 3 of the 4 panels painted up because I didn't manage to get the 4th one done in time before the deadline. So this was me at probably about 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, coming back out to do a second coat with a coffee. So there's me adhesing the sticker on, and the free public use sign I drilled on. I used a very, very fine drill bit to drill a small hole and then screw it to the actual board, so it was definitely not going to come off. So you can see in this photograph as well that the foam board was put on for the windows. I just need to create a frame now. Initially I was going to create it out of wood, but I realised I didn't have any white paint. I painted the police box sign and I started using the foam board to create the frame, which was a lot easier to do, putting it through the saw and creating these pieces, and it worked, the spare foam boards, to create the frame. So overall it was a massive challenge, and I think it came out really well. So this is exactly what it looked like when it got built at the community centre. It's not completely finished. There was a 4th wall yet to build, so it had to go against the wall, and I still hadn't created the roof, but I ran out of time. So this is what I built in the meantime. The other side did get painted on the day whilst it was there, and hopefully I'll get around to finishing the rest of it over the next coming weeks or so, and then I've got to find a place for it. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope I haven't droned on a little bit too much, and yeah, I'll see you in the next video.